For time beyond memory, people have experienced at first hand physical, visual and auditory events which could not be explained, and so it was feared. Today, we call this the paranormal. Our podcast will delve into this world of the unknown. So sit back and join Tina, Jake, Chris, Bridget and Bill and journey into the darkness with us. Welcome to Paranormal Researchers Ireland podcast.
Hey guys, so we're here for PRI's first podcast, and there's myself, Tina, there's Billy, there's Jake and there's Chris. And I think to start off, we were humming and hawing about what to do the first podcast on, and I think Loftus Hall would be the thing. So we're going to kick it off by Chris telling you a little bit of history about Loftus Hall, and then we're going into general chit chat about experiences and things like that. So enjoy.
Yeah, geez, that was a lovely intro, Tina. I think, no, very good. I actually really enjoyed that. Fair play to you.
I practiced.
How's it doing, guys? Welcome to the first episode there. So yeah, brief little history. First building was built down there in 1170, and it was called Houseland Castle. And then in 1350 is when the original Redmond Hall was built on the site. The property became in the ownership of the Loftuses in 1650 and became their primary residence in 1666. You've probably all heard about the lovely big massive renovations that happened in 1870 when they were expecting the Queen Victoria to come over. A little bit more recently, people looking at me now might say I remember it, but back in 1917 it was turned into a convent. It was purchased in 1983 by the Devereaux and reopened under the name of Loftus Hall Hotel. However, it was closed again in the 1990s, and it was privately owned by them until 2011, until it was bought by the Quigley family. It was owned then by them up until the year 2020, and now it is currently closed again. So, lovely little snapshot into the history of that lovely, gorgeous mansion down there. Over to you.
There's huge history that goes with Loftus Hall.
That's unbelievable.
And I didn't know, just so you know, what did you say it was originally called? Houseland Castle?
Houseland Castle, yeah.
I never heard of that. Did you hear of that, Billy?
No, I've never heard of that, but usually when there's a building like that, there's always something there before it.
I only knew of Loftus and Redmond Hall.
It's actually crazy. I literally just found out when I was doing that bit of research.
Interesting.
Over 1,000 years old, like,
yeah,
easily.
It's crazy.
Over 1,000
Absolutely
years old.
crazy. But yeah, Loftus a little bit of a love for PRI. How long were we there, Tina?
I think that I done the first lockdown in Loftus Hall approximately 10 years ago. And I remember it was Wayne, one of the other guys on the team. He was going up and down to Wexford, or he lived down that way, but he seen it as a kid. And I think he seen that original film, you know, the Loftus Hall film.
The Legend of
Loftus Hall in school. And that's how I first even hear about Loftus.
Have you seen The Legend of Loftus Hall?
The original?
Yeah.
I think I did. It's very old.
I remember when I was literally, when I was young now, and that's gone back probably into the 1970s, but anyway. I remember, I think RTE actually showed that a couple of years ago.
It was
when
on.
I was really young at Halloween, but yeah, it was an interesting watch. I suppose the main thing about Loftus that everyone knows is the legend of Loftus Hall.
Give a little story about the legend there, Chris.
So very long story short, to say on a stormy night at Slade Harbour, a ship docked at Slade Harbour. This was back in 1765. One individual got off the ship and he seen the lights of Loftus Hall in the distance, and that's where he wanted to take refuge. So he acquired himself a horse and made his way up to Loftus Hall. Of course, the Loftuses wanting to show off their wealth and hospitality, so they welcomed him into the house. And back then, card games were the way to go. And they were playing card games one night. One of the cards fell on the ground, and Anne Tottenham, who was the daughter of the the owner at the time, bent down to pick the card up. She looked under the table across the way, and there was a cloven hoof, or a horse's hoof, or a goat's hoof, whatever. What are you giggling at?
I was thinking she looked under the table. You had a pair of stilettos.
Pair of red stilettos. Because I'm trying to be serious here.
I just looked under the table at Chris's feet there, guys. So.
Would you like to wear a pant in them or what? But anyway, guys.
I didn't realise toenails could bend.
Sorry, guys, the nail clippers fell out of my hand when I was clipping them. But no, she looked under the table, and lo and behold, the guys was up, as they say. And again, guys, this is a very bullet pointed version of this story. His disguise was up, burst into a ball of flames, went out to the roof, and collapsed into a fit of madness. And she was locked away. Apparently, the family became very what's the word I'm looking for? Disgraced by her behaviour. So they locked her away into the tapestry room for 10 years, where she died. And legend has
That's
it.
the most famous story of Loftus.
Yeah, an interesting story.
When were you first down there?
Jesus.
How many years?
I think it was 2016.
And what about you, Billy?
I think I went down with yous.
10 years?
Yeah, but you guys first about 10 years, yeah.
What about you, Jake?
Jeez, it would have been probably similar time to Chris.
2016.
Yeah, 2016.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. First impression when you walked in?
Oh, I was in love with the place. Yeah.
I think everyone instantly was in love with Loftus Hall.
Yeah.
And everyone month in, month out showed up to do investigations. You know, everyone had a love for it.
It's those gates when you go in through the gates and you're driving up the driveway and you see it, especially if it's sunset and it's silhouetted against the sky.
Oh, remember that picture you took with the crows?
No, that was Billy.
Oh, that was Billy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was Billy's picture.
Remember that picture?
That was an amazing
crazy.
photograph. Just
I remember
all
the picture that you
crows.
took, Tina took, that I took.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not even just the driveway. You can see it from a good bit down the road when you're driving to it.
Yeah.
It just has a presence.
Yeah.
Everyone in the area agrees. Everyone that's been to it agrees.
Now, there's loads of people that won't even go in. They see Loftus.
Oh yeah.
And let's say they're urged down there. They see Loftus and they've chose never to cross the
Oh,
doorway.
a lot of
Loftus.
people won't go in.
Yeah. Well, I didn't feel like that. I definitely couldn't. I loved it, but it's the only place that I've ever investigated that has. I've still got nervous. No matter how many times I went down over the 10 years, I still, like the third floor, I was still nervous. It would be the same with you, Billy,
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
it?
hated the third floor.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated it. I hated going up. And you guys used to leave stuff up there on purpose. You'll go up and get the...
Yeah, there always seemed to be
torch.
something left upstairs to get at the
Yeah.
end of the night.
Yeah.
Somebody would always be looking for somebody,
somebody would
to go
always-
up with them. Listen, do you want to just go for it now?
Oh, Billy, we're packing the car. Do you want to grab that?
Yeah.
And what do you think it was? Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
No, go
Okay.
on.
I was just going to ask for the two of you. What do you think it was?
Well, personally, like, your imagination's your worst enemy in a place like that. So you kind of have to think logically when you're going up to get the torch. But even at that, your imagination can run very, very wild up there.
Yeah.
Like,
Your worst enemy.
But we've been there so much that we kind of curtailed it, you know, and there's just some, I don't know what it was, just something about the third floor. I never liked it. The hallway, I think the way the ceiling went,
And it
kinda
was
made you feel
slanted.
uneasy.
Yeah.
The floor made you feel uneasy, but there was something else there. I just can't put my
Well,
finger
I
on.
know walking down that long hallway on the third floor, I'd always think that something's just going to chase
That
you.
door at the end.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something's going to chase you.
And then to your right, remember the mirror in the room with the...
Always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
something just about that area compared to anywhere else. in the
Yeah,
building.
it's one set of stairs up, and then it's a long hallway. So there's only one way up and one way down.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no
So,
way out.
yeah.
Except the window, and they had shutters on the window. You couldn't
Yeah.
even get out the window.
That was, well, you could, but...
I think the ground would win that.
But I think we were all there for so long that we weren't. How will I say? We got used to the building. We weren't as scared.
We got used to the sounds.
We got used to the sounds. We got used to everything. You know, we weren't as nervous as we would have been when we first started going, because we were used to the building.
Yeah.
So, like, we all kind of felt like it was more than just the dark building.
Yeah, and we
That
done a
was,
couple of
you know,
overnights there as well, which
done
was
loads.
very
A
interesting.
A couple, yeah.
Tina has a good
A couple
story.
of thousand.
Yeah. Do you remember the night we stayed there? There was myself, you, and a couple of other guys and Wayne.
Oh, that's when we
Do
all
you
went
wanna
to
tell
sleep
what
in the
happened?
tapestry room.
We were asleep.
So myself and Wayne, we'd be quite grounded. I mean, we don't imagine a lot of stuff, as you know, and we were in the tapestry room. So we had investigated the building for the whole night, and we all decided to get our head down. We had the blow-up mattresses. We all put it on the floor in the tapestry room. This is just a quick version of the story. And Billy had gone asleep, and probably another 4 people. Billy would go asleep standing up, but maybe another 4 people
Billy's
as well.
asleep now.
Yeah, he's asleep now, Billy.
It's not a sound effect.
But what happened was, I was still awake, and Wayne was still awake. We weren't talking, we were away from each other, and then the door of the tapestry room opened slightly, so we heard the door. Now you can imagine, you have to visualize Loftus Hall. It is black, dark. There's no lights from outside. All the shutters are closed. It's absolutely black, dark. So I just heard the door. Then I heard footsteps coming into the room, and they were very audible. You could hear them. And I heard the footsteps coming over. It was like a semicircle, and I crawled off the mattress I was on, and I crawled over to where I thought Wayne was, and I think I grabbed his arm and I said, "Did you hear that?" And he said to me, "Footsteps." And I said, "Yeah." And I stood over there with him. Myself and Wayne ended up getting up, and we went into the other room. We left these in the room. They did sleep through, but we didn't tell them till the next
You
day what
originally
had
thought it was
happened.
one of us, didn't
I
you?
thought it was one of you getting up, because it's so dark. You don't know who's. No, there was nobody awake and there was nobody up. We turned the light, we turned our torch on. There was nobody there. The 2 of us left. We actually went into the card room then. We slept in the card room. I don't know which was better. But yeah, that was just one. I've had a few experiences. I've never seen a spirit. I've only ever heard things that I can't debunk. So I've only ever heard like footsteps on the back stairway. I've never been tipped. Like, I've never been tipped or anything like that. I've heard stuff, and things have been picked up on EVPs. But Billy, you've felt things in Loftus Hall.
I was, yeah, you were speaking of like something tipping you or something like that. I was there one night, and we had, I think it was a public,
Yes, it was 100% a public.
and they were watching it on the webcam, and I was standing at the back of the hall, in the tapestry room, sorry, and I was minding my own business. I think people were around the bed doing Ring a Rosie or something like that, and the ambience was really, really dark, and I thought it was going off balance, but that you have to remember as well, when that room's black dark, you're disorientated a little bit. But I kind of brushed it to the side, and then I felt like my hood was kind of getting caught in something, and I kind of went, I can't say what I said, but I went, what the hell was that? And it started just my hood started getting tight around my neck, and I turned around, and it was dark, but I could kind of see the wall a little bit. There was nothing behind me. And I let a very bad expletive out, and I ran across the room. And when I had said it to Aidan, he said that they saw me running across the room.
Yeah, that was on video.
Yeah. But,
So, yeah,
it
you
was
could
just
see.
weird feeling, like but something definitely pulled at my hood, and it wasn't a hook in the wall, or there wasn't any screws or nails. It's definitely because it was too far back from the wall. I wasn't standing against the wall, but about 3 or 4 feet away from it.
So you have to, when you walk into Loftus Hall, it's a huge, huge old house. So you have to remember, when you go in the main door, so not in the coffee shop way, so let's say in the main door that people would have went in the day, it's a huge tiled floor.
Yeah.
So that's how old?
That is, I wouldn't be able to put a figure, but it's
70
very
and-
old. That floor
Was
particularly.
that done in the 17?
16, probably 17.
Probably, yeah.
There are newer sections to the building.
There was as well, but then, as I said, the heavy renovations were in the 1800s, but that tile floor, I actually
Was
can't
before
remember.
that.
Yeah.
And it was 2 Italian brothers that came over to do that tiled floor. So the legend said that they were called in, they were commissioned, they were brought in from Italy to do the tiled floor, and that when it took them how long to do it? So many years. I remember this. It was
Oh, the mosaic on the floor.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
The
mosaic.
star, and the star in the
Yeah.
middle.
It's amazing, but it took them, let's say, 2 years, 3 years to do this, and the legend said that they chopped their hands off then, so they could never replicate
Yeah.
That's one of the legends of Loftus Hall. So when you walk through on the left, so you're standing in the middle of the tiled floor. On the left hand side is the card room, another door, and on the right hand side would have been like a morning room is what it's called.
Yeah.
And then you walk out through the door in front of you, and that is the main staircase, and that's where the tapestry room is on the left. There's a chapel when you go through the door, sort of on the left straight ahead, and there's a huge long corridor going down which leads to the back staircase. So there was also the coffee shop down there. The back staircase would have been what was used for the staff.
Servants.
It was a convent at one point as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so there's a chapel there as well. Yeah, sure. They said mass every day for 40 years, and that's why the staircase lasted, is because they put wax on the stairs every day. The nuns, they polished it
every day.
So when it was laid up and the roof was broken, the glass was broken, the rain came in, but the stairs lasted.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the legend of the stairs is there's two. One is at the bottom of the sea, and one is in Loftus Hall.
I've never heard that. That's interesting.
That's the legend. You know what I mean? That it was the same.
And the Vatican was it?
The Vatican 3. That's it. There's the Vatican, the Titanic.
Oh, that one I've heard of.
Yes, the Titanic and Loftus Hall. Now they're all the legends. The legend about the lore.
Yeah.
So the lore about the staircase, the lore about the Italian brothers, and what wasn't a lore was the baby in the renovations that were found. That was found in the wall.
Yeah, during the renovations back in the 1870s, they say that there was the skeleton remains found of a infant in the walls, and that's where the whole kind of the legend comes back to. Did Anne actually bear the child of the devil?
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, again, was she locked into that room because she went mad, or was she locked into that room because she shamed the family? You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things that'll make you wonder.
We found Anne's grave.
Anne's grave in Fedard,
Yeah, and Father Broaders.
Do you remember what's the name of the place, Tina?
Feckle. No, that was the...
No, I didn't ask you to curse, Tim. We asked you what was the name of the place.
Feckle is for the...
That's in the west. That's where we were looking for Biddy Early.
Biddy Early. No. So, what was it for?
Do you want to...
Whoretown.
Whoretown.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we all...
to say it.
Everybody as well had their own favourite kind of part of Loftus Hall.
Yours was definitely...
I loved the tapestry room.
The tapestry.
I was just drawn to
and
it.
anybody that went knew.
Yeah. And you had your top floor.
Third floor. Chris.
I was always in the card room. I started off in the morning.
But it was weird because we all kind of... Jake as well, where were you?
Yeah, I was usually... No, well, yeah, I'd done the Devil's Bedroom.
What's your favourite?
Years, but I would be more drawn to the third floor as well.
Yeah.
But we all had incidents happen to us kind of on those, because we were there so much. And they say that if familiar or spirits become familiar with people, like people become familiar with people.
Yeah.
And if there are spirits, they were once people, so they're going to know somebody or recognise a voice if whatever way they hear or see. If
now you can get reactions.
Yeah, you know.
Have you had an experience there, Jake?
Not really personal, but I have one that stood out. I brought a few friends to Loftus Hall, or it was around my birthday. I just brought them to.
I remember.
Them to see Loftus Hall and all that. They'd never even think about paranormal, and they'd be all laughing and all. But we were up on the third floor, and there was three of us, and you were there as well, Chris. Do you remember? Yeah. You weren't on the third floor now when this happened, but you were there that day.
Oh yeah.
But three of us were on the third floor, and we were just walking along the corridor, and at the exact same time, three of us turned around because there was footsteps at the end of that corridor at the top of the stairs, and three of us turned around at the exact same time. We all heard it, and there was no one there. So
you
and
see,
it was
there's
clear
things
as
that
day,
happened with me.
Footsteps. We were just, walking up, being quiet, looking in all the rooms, and then next thing you know, footsteps at the end of the hall. Like, just things like that were a common occurrence. Like,
the thing is that the three of you turned around. It wasn't just you.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the three of you turned around.
Everyone knew what it was when it happened. We didn't. Oh, did you hear that? Like, we all knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But after the lore, I feel like we should talk about the reality of what happened as well, you know.
You start off with that then.
Well, Chris, you'll have to help me out here because just numbers and all and figures. When it was a convent, one nun passed away on the back staircase.
Two.
It was 2 nuns passed
Yeah.
away on the back staircase, actually. See, I can't really remember
You're
numbers.
right.
But yeah, where they passed away, there is a cross embedded in the ground. And if you go onto our Facebook page, Paranormal Researchers Ireland, you'll see all of these pictures of the place.
And the
hundreds,
Instagram has them, yeah.
hundreds of pictures of Loftus Hall. So yeah, and then another nun passed away outside in the
beach.
Yeah, she drowned, and that was when it was a convent. And when it was a hotel in the 80s, I think it was Michael and Kitty's Devereaux's
Son.
Was it son or nephew?
Nephew.
Was it son or nephew?
Nephew.
Nephew, yeah.
Their nephew actually fell and passed away in
The back stairs.
on the back stairs in the same place as the nuns.
Yeah.
And these are all things that are, you know,
But didn't somebody pass away in the tapestry room as well? And it was a bar.
Michael himself.
Michael
Michael
himself.
Devereaux
Yeah.
himself passed away in the tapestry room, sitting at the bar. You can, and in the pictures and all, you can still see on the ground where the bar was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see the lines.
You can
of it,
see the
yeah.
lines on the
Yeah.
ground, and at the corner is where he passed away. So the lore is great and all that, but there was
The reality is even better.
countless tragedies and deaths. And,
Yeah, yeah.
And also what's documented as well, Jake, was the exorcisms
yeah.
in Loftus Hall. So that's not lore either.
No.
That's the reality was there
There was an actual
a
exorcism.
certain
yeah.
amount of exorcisms
Yeah.
and it was done over the course of days, wasn't it?
They say the minimum, or yeah, give or take 3 days it took Thomas Brothers to exorcise the house, but they said that he never actually fully, like the house wasn't fully cleared. There was something
Yeah.
just about the tapestry room that
Yeah.
They
he-
didn't clear the tapestry room.
but like the activity apparently that the Loftus were saying was so much, they tried every single thing they could, and eventually they had to, more or less, for want of a better word, give in and go to because the Loftus were Protestants.
Yeah.
And they went to the Catholic Church to try help them with an exorcism.
Yeah.
But apparently cleared the whole house except whatever was in the tapestry room.
And didn't he sleep over the day that he left? Now, is this lore or is this real? The day that he left, the day that he was leaving, he had spent the night in the tapestry room the night before. Wasn't he attacked in the bed or something? Is that lore or is that real?
I think that's, I have heard that story, that he was attacked and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
so
again, like these kind of things,
can be added
yeah,
to as well.
it's like any kind of story, like when it goes from generation to generation, it's all handed down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like the thing with Anne, back in the 1940s, remember we went to her grave back in the
Yes.
1940s. The tomb was actually vandalized. The door or the wall going into that tomb was vandalized, and the workers said that while they were repairing it, they looked in and they actually see the sloped lid on the coffin.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
flat.
it wasn't flat, and that's when they said when she died, her bones were actually locked into position. But yeah, it's just whatever happened there.
It makes all the lore more believable
Yeah.
with all the documented stuff that
makes you
did
question.
That has
happen.
happened.
Makes you question.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
what I mean?
history plays a huge part. The whole land down there, the whole area, sure, with shipwrecks and
Yeah,
just the whole landscape down there. It's
Yeah, the whole
just,
peninsula, the Hook Peninsula is well known for just mysteries.
yeah,
Yes.
A man that lived down there his whole life was telling me that there was countless, back in the 40s and 50s, there was countless boats that used to go missing, sailors used to go missing off
yeah.
the boats.
Yeah.
He said
See,
that,
looking
he
into
said,
that alone
yeah,
would be
he
amazing.
wouldn't have known anything about Loftus Hall really. Like I was just talking to him about random stuff, and he was mentioning.
And what's
where he was
this
from,
triangle, Chris, from to do with Loftus Hall?
Oh, geez, good question. So yeah, like we will be covering
Because we're
it.
speaking of, like, obviously, with a lot of people being lost at sea and stuff, people think of the Bermuda Triangle, but there is one in Ireland as well,
Yeah,
and Loftus Hall is part of it.
well, we'll be covering this in a couple of, the future episodes, hopefully, if people
but
like
just
this
a brief kind of.
So yeah, the story of Loftus is actually the same as it happened in the Hellfire and the Castletown house. And we will be covering it, but a few, yeah, it actually
They've
is,
They're
fascinating,
linked.
yeah.
they're linked.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting that 3 locations. That triangle, if you want to call it that, have the whole
The devil.
and the foot being seen and all this kind of stuff.
Up through the roof.
But no, it's interesting. It is interesting. Was Jake, as you were saying about the deaths and all down there, I'm not going to give you the whole speech on the history, but back in the 1100s, they said that there was 3,000 local men actually killed while the Normans were attacking. And that place is, can you actually imagine a battle?
3,000.
Yeah.
3,000, yeah. It's just so derelict down there as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the correct word to use, but it's just
barren. Barren,
yeah.
Well, the night that me and Wayne were staying down there alone, you were saying about it derelict and bare and barren. We were in the house and it was just a really uncomfortable night that we had, and it was probably 1 or 2 in the morning. We went into the coffee shop, and outside the door, it was all full glass. Outside the door of the coffee shop was, let's say, 3 adults and a kid. And I rang Aidan, and they were looking at us. They were just standing, no expression, nothing. And they were looking at us, and I rang Aidan, and I said to Aidan, is it normal for people to be here? And he said, no, sure, there's the gate, there's security, and there's the big field you have to go through and everything.
Yeah, it's not easy, yeah.
It's not somewhere
it's
that...
mucky going up, yeah.
And there was a kid and adults, and they were standing there, and by the time he got security to go over the intercom outside to say, you're being watched, and security...
Yeah.
Didn't see them walk off, nothing. They were just gone.
Wow.
That
And
was
you had
the
an experience
freakiest.
there. That was that same night you had the experience with Wayne on the
Oh, Jesus, yeah, up on the 3rd floor.
3rd floor. Yeah, we caught the audio.
Yeah, it was
Surely.
literally, we were doing a recording, and we were calling out, and it was black dark, and I was sitting with my back to the shutters. It was on the 2nd floor, not the 3rd floor.
Second floor, yeah, that's
So
right.
that 2nd floor had been shut off for years and years and years. So it had only been opened up to the public. And we said we'd do a recording in there. And there was a big bang on my back at the shutters. And I jumped forward and I screamed. And as I screamed, I jumped onto Wayne. I was like screaming. And the recording caught everything. Now that night
It was a calm night as well.
It was a calm
There's no
night.
wind.
There was no ladders outside. We were on the 2nd floor. It was totally, there was security, there was cameras, there was gates, there was walls. Nobody would have been there, and you couldn't have hit. You see, this is the whole thing. It hit the shutters, not the glass.
Yeah, because we
So
do
there was
assess.
something in the
We do
room.
assess when we go to a location as well, guys. Just for you, so you know that, like, we assess to make sure that we see what the weather's like. If it's windy, so we know, okay, if there's bangs and knocks.
We even know where
most
the
of them-
electricity is running.
Yeah. So and Tina would have known that night, and she would have checked to make sure that there wasn't any wind. So
There was nothing there, and literally it was a bang, and it wasn't, we didn't think about the audio that night because we got such a fright. But I have to say, before all that happened, the energy in the house was horrific. It was the first time, remember I told
You
you
wanted
that
to go?
I wanted to leave Loftus. I didn't want to stay the night, and it was Wayne who said, you'll go mad if you go, just stay. That's when we went to the 2nd floor, this happened. And it was the next day when Billy was doing the audio. You can say what you picked up.
yeah, just Tina screamed, and then you could hear like a man's voice in the background, and it was sounded really angry. But it was just like
It's like disembodied
it
voices.
was like a
or-
disembodied voice.
yeah.
But it was when Tina was screaming, it was just you could hear this underneath it the whole time, and you could hear kind of Wayne fumbling a bit, like moving around, but it wasn't Wayne that was screaming, because I was able to
You can
compare
establish.
Wayne's voice earlier on with this, and it wasn't Wayne at all. It was a completely different
It was
frequency
just
to-
really
yeah.
weird that night, and even the bang on the
Yeah.
shutter. That
Yeah.
I don't even know how it could have happened, but I mean it was
I
interesting.
think he's left shortly after that, didn't you? So, I don't
No,
think
we
you're
stayed the night.
Oh, did
That
you?
was the night
Oh,
where
you stayed.
the
Yeah.
the bed levitated. Do you remember that? We're like, tell that story.
Is it
Jake's
past 9
thinking,
p.m.?
no. Yeah, it's not PG. No, it was really funny because we decided to sleep on the 2nd floor because that had happened. And we had an air mattress, and the two of us were lying on the air mattress, and Wayne had fallen asleep. And when he was sleeping, I just absolutely panicked, and I was like, fucking levitating. I felt the mattress going up. The bed was actually lifting. What was happening was the air was going out of the air mattress, and when he rolled over, my side went up. I swear to God, I thought this is a real experience. Like, I'm levitating, but it was literally the air going out of the mattress, and I was lifted up. So he was in stitches at that.
That does happen quite a lot as well. Like we do allow for that. Or
We do with
funny
the
thing,
air.
well, no, like practical things happen where you might think this is paranormal, but it has absolutely nothing to do. with paranormal. And you have to, you kind of have to go through that as well, which is a good point.
That
You know
was
what I
so
mean?
funny that night. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sorry. You and Wayne got a real fright that night. And over the years that we were there, a lot of people got some big frights.
Oh,
In
yeah.
Loftus Hall. Chris, you had
Oh,
a few people leaving sessions.
Oh God.
remember me and Billy used to have a bet, remember?
I used to win.
Not I won the last one.
I did one.
By one person.
But
Billy won majority, I
had
have to say.
I had a guy
Sorry.
one night literally run into the doors when they were closed,
Yeah.
God, that was terrible.
and he hurt himself, like, you know. But that's what happened. And Chris has had the same. People have fainted.
Yeah, girl fainted. It was one of the last lockdowns we done. One of the girls fainted and 3 left. They said they seen something like a dark shadow moving through the card room, and it growled. And they said, no, that's enough. We've had enough of this. And they had to leave. But yeah, it's definitely, when you see it happening to more than one person, you're kind of going,
Yeah.
right,
Well,
what-
we've had partners coming in and they just have no interest. As Jake said earlier, his friends had no interest in it.
Yeah.
And they come down to Loftus Hall and they walk in skeptics and they walk out.
Run out.
Run out. No, they literally. I've had that a few times. Like,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are like, what the hell?
My friends who came that day are, the majority of them are into the paranormal now, you know, not full time, but just really interested in
I
it.
love that.
And they're always asking about stuff, and they're always bringing it up, and it was like a real experience for them. And that's what it's about, though. But like
Love it.
the paranormal is all personal experiences that'll fuel what you believe.
Yeah, it's just like
You
it
know what I
chisels
mean?
away very small little
Yeah.
pieces of your skepticism or whatever it is. And if you're doing it for so long, little things happen, little timelines happen, and that can change your perspective on the whole thing.
You know, you see things on telly and books and documentaries, and I'd take them in, but I wouldn't be believing. I think we can all agree you wouldn't believe everything you see.
Pinch
No.
of salt.
It's all
It's personal
pinch of salt.
experience.
It's all
Yeah.
personal experience is a big part of the paranormal.
But there's nothing wrong with watching it on TV
No,
because
no, absolutely not. Yeah,
it gets people interested. It's like
Yeah.
our podcast here; people are interested
yeah,
in
exactly. Yeah.
stuff like that. But it's when you're in the moment, you
Yeah.
can't. There's nothing. It's the adrenaline of it.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
Yeah.
Addictive. It's the like we'd go down to Loftus Hall and Tina would say, "Okay, Billy, you're going down to the tapestry room for 3 hours to sit on your own."
Yeah.
Or Chris, you're going up to the top floor. Tina, you're going up top floor, and it's the adrenaline of it. It's the part of it as well. Are my teammates going to come up and frighten the fucking life out of me tonight? Because we have done that on occasion.
Oh,
Like,
we have
you,
to- we
you have to have fun as well when you're doing it. You know, you can't be.
But what you were saying, Billy, that was part of the initiation as well, remember?
Yeah.
And someone else used to join the team, right? You're in there on your own for an hour.
Yeah, I was in tapestry room one night on my own for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was doing an EVP session, speaking of earlier with Tina's experience, and I was in the right hand corner down by the fireplace standing, and the fireplace was gorgeous. I know there wasn't much left of it, but you could see some of the mosaic on the ground, the tiles and stuff.
Stunning.
And I was just in the room, and I think Wayne and yourself and all were back up in the canteen. I was just talking and asking questions, and I remember one question in particular I asked. Nothing happened on the night. Are you here with me now? Thought nothing of it. About, I think it was 3 weeks again, I got to the audio of that, and I could hear something really faint when I was listening back to it. And I remember I phoned Tina, and she still couldn't hear it. But
You have to have an ear for it.
you have to have an ear for it. But I'm not going to say what I heard. We will do a podcast on EVPs and audio as well, and a lot of
That'd be brilliant.
yeah, you know. But yeah, it was the strangest thing, and it kind of frightened me, and I was kind of afraid to go back in for a while because it kind of made me feel a little bit humble of what the hell was that. I knew there was nobody else around. I knew there was nobody, absolutely nobody around. And I can't explain it to this day, you know, and it did kind of humble me a little bit.
That's the whole thing about Loftus is you'd still get a fright no matter how long you're going down
Yeah,
there.
it's still
or how
dark, it's
familiar.
still,
You'll still get a fright.
unless you're Chris.
Chris used to run screaming out of the car.
Do you remember? Yeah, and he's screaming like his voice. His voice would go up like 6 octaves. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Any more of those jokes?
No, I feel like any experience we'd have in Loftus Hall, we can say is because like something would happen, or like we'd be very good with trying to debunk things.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
You know, we'd always
absolutely.
be looking for
Yeah.
logical explanations. I would anyway.
I know
It's
we
when
all
you
do.
don't get the
It's
logical.
if you go
Then
looking
it's
for an
interesting.
explanation and
Yeah.
you can't find it,
Yeah, it's like
and you have to think then, what could it be?
yeah, it's like that audio again. I tried to debunk it. We went down. We tried to reenact it with people standing outside the room,
Nothing.
and it was not the same.
It's a
And-
big question
But
mark, isn't
the
it?
other thing as well
That's
is
it, yeah.
respect. You have to respect what you're doing.
Yeah.
I
Because if you
agree.
don't respect it, like you have to, it's you don't want to make a joke of it. Like you can have a laugh and have fun with each other, but when
Never
it's
disrespect.
like never disrespect. You don't do it.
What do you think drew people to Loftus Hall? Was it the legend, or word of mouth, or was
I
what?
think it's everything. I think it's the landscape, the building, the
landscape, the
history, the
building,
lore.
yeah.
The look of it?
Such a well-known place.
There's
in
like
Ireland,
there's
you know.
folklore, there's landscape, there's history,
Over
there's the
1,000
building.
years of history.
There's just everything, like you know. There's the road trip down with Chris in the car and Tina and Jake.
We had some of our best nights.
No, but
going up
honestly,
and
it's
down.
it's
Dinner
the
in
excitement
the
of
Templars Inn.
Yeah.
John, do you remember
it's
that?
the excitement of going down there. Just
Yeah.
everything. It's like
Yeah.
the
It's
best
just
movie
perfect.
with all the action, everything in it, and it's just all there. You know.
That's actually exactly
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
it is.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
I know it is, like but it is a combination of everything, isn't it? Like it kind of explained itself. You didn't have to, like the legend was always like, oh, the word of mouth. Oh, geez, Loftus Hall.
You mentioned Loftus Hall
Yeah.
to somebody,
Do you know what I
and they're
mean?
like,
They'll know straight away. Oh, I love the place. Oh, I'm never going near that place or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just it's an interesting little spot now. But
And it's gone.
yeah, it's
"It's gone." Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it.
So to go and ruin the board.
Good woman, Tina.
But I will say, Aidan Quigley, so it was the Quigley family who owned Loftus Hall, but he was the only one, I remember him saying it,
Yeah.
that got out,
Wasn't
not bankrupt or dead.
Aiden's a
Like
legend.
personally,
No
from each one of us, I think
Yeah. Oh no, without a doubt.
Aiden's on a pedestal that I don't think anyone else in the
And talk about a man. He's like,
dedication.
but he's the Wikipedia of Loftus Hall.
Yeah,
He knows everything.
The knowledge that he had on that building was actually crazy.
yeah.
And
And the love he had for it, because
Oh, yeah.
like he restored so much of it, you know,
did.
and he really did. But he had respect for the building, which
We
is
might do a part 2 with him someday. Will we?
yeah.
That would be brilliant.
We've been talking about Loftus Hall for the last 35 minutes or whatever, but we're going to come to a kind of our own personal conclusions of it. So we go from Tina, Chris, Jake, and myself for a couple of minutes and just give what we love about Loftus and what we thought about what went on down there in a personal experience. It's just, you know,
So, what I would say, my experience at Loftus Hall, everything was good. I miss it a lot. I would have more questions than answers about Loftus Hall, and I can't say what's there or what's not there. I really can't, because I still don't know. What I know is, which is lovely, it sort of has made me love the paranormal, because I didn't have a lot of faith in the paranormal for a time, until I had an experience in Loftus, and it just drew me right back in. So that's there's just no end to Loftus for me, so that's my view.
yeah. And mine, as Tina said, Tina put it very eloquently there about like just the way she was talking about it, and mine is just the friendships I made there, number one, with the public and my family team here, who are just, I love everybody to bits in it. And maybe not Chris as much, but Chris is my brother from another. No, but it's like just the friendships we made there, and again the experiences that I kind of was the same as Tina. We went to a lot of other locations, and we weren't trying to force things to happen, but things weren't happening. What's the word I should use? Things weren't really happening that would kind of go, was that paranormal? It was too subtle. But in Loftus Hall, like when something made itself known, it literally made itself known. Like what happened with Tina, what happened with myself, you know, and again, the friendship, I think, was the biggest thing I got out of it as well, you know.
Yeah, for myself, I absolutely love history and Irish history more than anything. And just being in a place with that much history, I always just, you know, I love it. I think a lot of people would agree. I think there was something dark to Loftus Hall that nobody really knew what it was. Just things kind of happened, and every time I was there was kind of a new feeling, whether it was a member of the public and all that. And over the years that we were investigating there, we saw a pattern, like so I think that there was something dark there that nobody really knows much about, but I definitely feel like it's a dark place. Chris?
Yeah. I suppose, how long have we got? 40 minutes now.
Yeah, I thought about it all night, honestly.
No,
Chris probably will.
A thing that'll jump to, yeah, I probably will. A thing that'll jump to my mind about Loftus Hall is it was my kind of training ground. When I started off on the PRI team, I was literally thrown into the deep end one day. When I was driving down with Tina, she goes, it was a couple of weeks into it, whatever it was, and she goes, "You're leading the public tonight." And I goes, "Oh Jesus Christ, how am I going to get through this?" But yeah, no, it was a training ground. I learnt a lot and made an absolute wonderful friends down there. I say this, and every time we talk about Loftus, Aidan couldn't have been any better to us.
Yeah.
He gave us the fucking keys to the place. So huge respect and a lot of appreciation to him. And the last thing I'll say is that the thing I'll always remember when I was walking around Loftus Hall, be it you're afraid or not afraid, or you're brave or you're not brave, anytime you walked into a sense that I got, everyone knew Loftus Hall.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you say, it still has a lot of history. It has a lot of dark history, and it has a legend. And if that doesn't cross your fucking mind when you're walking through that place, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So there's just no conclusion.
Yeah.
There's no conclusion. Yeah,
It molded all of
Chris,
us into
yeah.
what way we believe in the paranormal.
And what way
Definitely.
we investigate.
What
But
way we
even
investigate.
one last point as well is when we were like the evidence that we kind of gathered there over the years,
Yeah.
like audio,
Valuable.
like I've still got hours and hours of audio that I haven't gone through yet. But we will get there one year. Do you know what I mean? Don't talk to Chris about audio.
If you want to stare at Billy.
But yeah, so
What?
well, I used to have one audio that I lost.
Let's look out
so
for
We'll talk about
the...
that in another.
Stay tuned for the Gettysburg episode, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really,
that's a good
yeah.
one.
Chris is going back there.
It'll just be a chat. There's no audio to go along with.
But yeah, guys. So I hope you enjoyed our first podcast.
We did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
of
going
course.
to...
we loved it.
Well,
We
any
absolutely loved
feedback is welcome.
And guys, again, if you have any stories that you want to tell,
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
send us in a voicemail, record your voice, and we'll put it onto a podcast.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear you guys on the podcast as well, and
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
can introduce us. You know, so send us in some audio of you talking about your favorite story, maybe of what happened to you.
We can discuss it.
Or-
You know,
Yeah,
it's
where do
better
you
than you
want us to
typing it and us reading it out. Record
Yeah.
it, send it in to us on our Facebook page, and we'll upload it onto our podcast.
We're open to any,
Yeah.
And we'll
any
give,
new
you,
things.
we'll give you a bit
Yeah.
of credit as well if it's good.
Yeah.
No money messing. No.
So Tina, do you want to sign us out? And we'll...
Oh God, what was that?
that was
Billy,
Tina.
classic Billy.
But,
Classic
yeah,
Billy.
so our next podcast then, and we won't tell you what we're going to discuss.
Air.
We'll Tina will sign us out, and we'll catch you guys on the other side.
So I will sign us out, Billy, Jake, Chris, and from myself, signing us out.
Stay spooky.
Thanks
See
for
you
listening,
guys.
guys.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Take care.
You have been listening to Paranormal Researchers Ireland podcast, All sound effects were sourced in Epidemic Sound app with thanks to SFX Producer. Intro and outro music, Nothing to be Scared of by Kakuru, and main theme background music, Substage by Jay Vartan, used with full subscription and permission from the Epidemic Sound app. PRI podcast recorded by Jake and mixed by Bill using Adobe Audition. We hope you enjoyed our podcast, so why not join us for our next Supernatural podcast coming very soon.